May we be seated. Minister, Deputy Minister, senior officials of the Department of Public Enterprises, board members of the various entities, guests of the Minister in the gallery who are now the guests of Parliament, good afternoon and happy Africa Day to all of you. I've got some few housekeeping rules, particularly for our members, not really members, but our guests in the gallery, that since now you are our guests, there are certain rules that apply to you as well. You are allowed to smile if the minister, deputy minister, or any of the members say something that's exciting, but you are not allowed to use your hands like clapping. I just allowed you to clap for Africa Day, but you are not supposed to do that during the debate. When there's something that's irritating you that's said by any of the members on the floor, you are not supposed to boo or to use your gestures showing your irritation. You can just use your facial, muscles to to indicate that you are not. If you are a supporter of any other party, no matter how excited you are, particularly the DA, you are not supposed to clap. Or the UDM, you are not supposed to do anything, lest we have a Nelson Mandela Metro here. But otherwise, otherwise you're all welcome. I hope the debate will be exciting but peaceful, robust but respectful. I'll now ask the Secretary to read the first order.
Debate on Vote 9, Public Enterprises Appropriation Bill.
Minister of Public Enterprises.
Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Ministers and Deputy Minister Ben Martins, who is the Deputy Minister of Public Enterprises, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Honourable Members, the Director General of the Department, Chairpersons and Board Members of state-owned companies, Chief Executives and Senior Managers of state-owned companies, distinguished guests, family, ladies and gentlemen. For me, it's a great privilege to present Budget Vote number 9 on Africa Day. Of the legacies of colonialism that have most hindered the development of the continent are the infrastructure deficit and the disconnect between African countries. It is often easier to send products right across the world than across the river to your neighbor. In 2015, intra-African trade amounted for less than 18% of total continental reports. Yet since 2008, Africa has seen an average of 5.3% annual GDP growth. The continent is one of the fastest growing economic regions in the world. 2 years ago, my department challenged state-owned companies in our stable to develop Africa strategies, to pursue commercial opportunities on the continent, either with other state-owned companies or the private sector. A few weeks ago, at the World Economic Forum on Africa, Transnet revealed a taste for the opportunities that exist on the continent when they invited representatives of companies they have been dealing with in 8 countries to to join them for a tour of the port of Durban. Transnet is currently negotiating to develop port rail and pipeline infrastructure in Senegal, Liberia, Ghana, Togo, Benin, Nigeria, DRC, and Kenya. Chairperson, Africa is on the rise. According to the IMF last month, the world's economy is set to lift off. And I quote, "The global economy is gaining momentum, but further progress hinges on policies to support the recovery, lift productivity growth, and enhance resilience. Working within the multilateral framework, countries should strive for strong and more balanced growth and to provide economic opportunities for all. To this end, they should anticipate the effects of technological progress and economic integration, equip their populations with tools to reap the benefits, and put in place domestic policies to share them more broadly." Close quote. This year, the ruling party, who I represent here today, is holding its policy and elective conferences. It does so in the context of a socio-economic environment characterized by extreme levels of inequality, poverty, and unemployment. As President O.R. Tambo remarked in 1981, and I quote, "The objective of our struggle in South Africa, as set out in the Freedom Charter, encompasses economic emancipation. It is inconceivable for liberation to have meaning without a return of the wealth of the country to the people as a whole." And I close the quotes. 36 years later, delivering his State of the Nation address in February, President Zuma defined the need for radical socio-economic transformation. And I quote, "We mean fundamental change in the structure, systems, institutions, and patterns of ownership, management, and control of the economy in favor of all South Africans, especially the poor." And I close those quotes. State-owned companies in the DPE portfolio, Eskom, Transnet, Denel, SA Express, Alexcor, and Safco. You see, I only have 6. I'm accused of many others. Have been given their marching orders to deliver on this mandate. Chairperson, the larger companies in my department stable are among the key economic levers available to the state to give effect to its transformation developmental agenda. While many private companies have been forced into their shells over the past nearly 10 years of economic sluggishness, state-owned companies have undertaken massive infrastructure and job-creating projects. Contrary to the popular narrative being sown out there, the overwhelming majority of goods and services supplied to Eskom, Transnet, and Denel, our big 3, are not supplied by black-owned or empowered companies. Eskom's power stations, for example, still receive about 90% of their coal from only white-owned companies, some of which have been built giant business empires on the back of the guaranteed cash flow these contracts have provided. They have been able to build giant business empires on the back of the guaranteed cash flows these contracts have provided. Therefore, Madam Chair, there is enormous scope.
Order, order. Honorable members, remember your rules. You can't use language that is unparliamentary. Order on both sides of the House. Can we allow the debate to proceed? I said it must be robust but respectful.
I'm hearing a mumble only. Remember, I can respond to you, but I'm only hearing a mumble, so be a little clearer, so that I can heckle you back. There is enormous scope to transform the profile of suppliers, bring in new companies, and convince owners of existing suppliers to enter into profit share arrangements with workers, amongst other measures. Our greatest short-term challenge is to confront and overcome the cloud of allegations that I suspect is coming from that side of the House, and counter-allegations relating to corruption in state-owned companies.
Order, honorable member. Heckling is allowed, but making noise is not.
And to set about our transformation journey in a climate of the highest ethics and responsibility, and very quickly, and thus contribute to the rating agencies reversing their recent decisions in the shortest possible time. Let me repeat, and to set about our transformation journey in a climate of the highest ethics and responsibility, quickly, and thus contribute to the rating agencies reversing their recent decisions in the shortest possible time. In 2007, South Africa first experienced load shedding. I wasn't minister then. Since then, there have been at least 7 investigations into alleged maladministration and corruption at the utility. Several commissioned by Eskom's board, culminating in the publication of the State of Capture report 6 months ago. Of course, Eskom's reputation has been torn to shreds, and the company has been reduced.
Order. Honorable members, can we allow the debate to go on? Heckling, as I said, is allowed, but a slinging match across the benches doesn't help. Can we allow the minister to proceed?
I don't know if you'll understand the truth if I told it to you. And the company has been reduced to a symbol of state-owned malfeasance. The reputation of companies, it's always easy to shout in a group. It would be very nice if you could talk to me individually, which none of you can do. The reputations of companies—
Order. Honorable members.
The reputations—
Minister, can you please wait? Honorable members, can I repeat again? No unparliamentary language should be used in the House. Order. Honorable members, can we allow the debate? And I will ask the whips who are on duty on both sides of the House to talk to their members to be disciplined. Proceed, member.
The reputations of companies and individuals named in reports have been placed in infinite limbo, as if they have been convicted of crimes in court, while the opposition bay for the public execution of Eskom's, and I put in quotations, guilty, in the town square. There has as yet been no prosecutions, no convictions, and no due legal process. For those of you who will cry about the law, I will do nothing above the law. We have to work within the law. So little bits of gossip, madam, little bits of gossip cannot stand. The facts of Eskom's financial turnaround, that it has used only 200 billion of its 350 billion rand government guarantee, that the build program delay has been recovered and it is ahead of its revised schedule, that it is making do with a 2.2% tariff hike, and that memories of load shedding or fading are totally lost to the discourse. I've instructed my department to draw up the terms of reference for a broad scope inquiry into affairs at Eskom since 2007-2008. The constitution of the inquiry has yet to be finalized. I have taken your views, Advocate Swartz, that when you raised with me that we look at the SIU in a previous discussion, the department fortunately has a memorandum of agreement with the SIU. So I'd like the SIU to review the contents of all the reports into alleged wrongdoing at Eskom, conduct further investigations into particularly procurement and governance issues raised as necessary, and report to a retired judge. I would like the judge to consider the SIU's report and make recommendations on remedial action to me. I will brief the MPA on the recommendations. Let me repeat. I will brief the MPA on the recommendations. I will announce further details in coming days. I expect sexism from that side, madam. I expect many isms from that side, madam. Chairperson, the debts of large SOCs, they know no better, are linked to the sovereign credit ratings. Investors monitor shifts in the political environment of a country, and within days of an incident, perceived to be negative ratings agencies can decide to downgrade the sovereign. But they do not only monitor the political environment. It's just good to be able to speak at a normal tone. They also monitor state-owned companies. They regularly, that's your opinion. And I fought for your opinion. Let me tell you, you're at least a third my age. I fought so that you can have a democratic voice in a South Africa, which you know
Order.
nothing about.
Minister, can you proceed with your
The
speech?
SOC,
Point of order, Chair.
Order, honorable member. Minister, can you? What's
They
the point
do
of
not
order?
No, I want to bring, Chair, I'd like to bring the attention of the Chair to Rule 63 that allows the member of the executive to speak freely without harassment, without fear.
Order,
But I want to
honorable
make
member,
this
can you
proposal,
take your
Chair.
seat?
Chair, I want to make this proposal that
Order.
in the absence of the EFF in the House,
Order.
it cannot be
Honorable
substituted by the
Chauke.
DA.
Honorable Chauke, can you take your seat?
Order, Chair.
Order.
Order, Chair.
Honorable, can you take your seat? Honorable members, that was not a point of order. Can we allow the member, and actually the EFF is in the House. Proceed, Honorable Minister.
Order, Chair.
Okay, what's your point of order?
Chair, that member must regain sobriety. The people that are drowning the
Order.
speaker are the very
Order.
same ANC people. So he must regain
Honorable
his
members,
sobriety.
can you take your seat? Order. Honorable members, I think all of us here appreciate that this is the debate. Your responsibility as members, particularly those who debate, and all of you here, are supposed to hold the executive to account. In part, this is what they are doing through their budget votes, and you will have an opportunity as you engage on the debate to do so. As I said, heckling, it's part of the parliamentary process. Filibustering is also part, but it's not done in a manner that it drowns the speakers. The way you're actually conducting yourself, it's not what it's supposed to be of public representatives on both sides. There is no shaming of one or the other. All of you equally have to be disciplined. Honorable Minister, can you please proceed?
Thank you very much, Chair. The credit rating agencies monitor the political environment. They also monitor state-owned companies. They regularly flag as risks low economic growth, a need for structural reform, and poor governance of SOCs when assessing their ratings. The SOC reform project and development of a shareholder policy, led by the department, chaired by the Deputy President, will implement recommendations of the report of the Presidential Review Committee on SOEs, and it's focused on improving the performance of state-owned companies. It is clear that state-owned companies' improvement in performance is non-negotiable, and that structural reforms must be accelerated to improve efficiency and strengthen government's role as a shareholder. The principles of the shareholder policy were approved by Cabinet in November 2016 for further consultation. The project plan anticipates that the legislative program for 2017-18 will see the introduction of the draft shareholder management bill. Cabinet has approved a new SOC remuneration and incentive standards for non-executive directors, executive directors, and prescribed officers. The guiding principles ensure that performance is transparently linked to incentives. Much of this financial year will be spent on implementation. Chairperson, allow me now to brief you on progress in the year under review and plans for the year ahead. The departmental realignment process, led by the DG, is gaining momentum. The department is being repositioned to become more agile, responsive, and efficient in fulfilling its oversight and monitoring roles. The department spent 253.8 million rand of its 2016-17 budget allocation, 94.7% of the total budget. I commend the department for spending 99.4% of its goods and services budget. The underspending of 14.1 million rand is primarily due to vacant posts. The DG has presented a plan to expedite the filling of these positions. The department has been allocated a budget of 266.7 million in 17-18, 277.2 million in 18-19, and 296.5 million in 19-20. The department's focus over the medium term will be largely on enhancing the capabilities of the department in performing its mandate. Chairperson, before focusing separately on the companies in the department's portfolio, I'd like to give some feedback on two important initiatives I mentioned in my budget vote a year ago. Firstly, the design initiative. Transnet has partnered with the Design Institute of the South African Bureau of Standards to establish the Transnet Innovation and Design Research Center. This partnership promotes a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship Through its moving ideas concept, more than 1,200 young entrepreneurs were invited to submit life-changing, innovative ideas that would provide solutions to challenges in their communities and some of Transnet's operational challenges. Secondly, the Skills Development Initiative. Between them, the 6 state-owned companies in the portfolio have enrolled 8,931 trainees as at the 31st of December 2016 in various scarce job and critical skill programs. A total of 10,655 trainees in various disciplines graduated from a variety of institutions and programs over the past year. 607 of them have been employed. 1,779 learners have received bursaries for the current financial year. So let me take this opportunity to welcome in the gallery some of our state-owned companies' beneficiaries and trainees, and they are sitting over there. Chairperson, if we may now briefly focus on company performance highlights, beginning with Eskom. 2 years ago, Eskom was on the brink of financial collapse, and load shedding was the norm. Today, we have generation reserves of 3,000 megawatts.
Order, Honorable Minister, can you pause? What is the point of order?
Chair, I just want to check, one of the major beneficiaries are Guptas. Are they in the gallery?
Order, Honorable Member,
The
this
Guptas in the gallery.
order. If you have listened to the minister, he was referring to the training program. So, thank you very much. Proceed, Minister. Order. Honorable members. Honorable members, can we allow the debate to proceed? Honorable Hadebe.
Thank you, Chairperson. Today, we have generation reserves. That means excess electricity of 3,000 megawatts. And Eskom's managed to keep plant energy availability over 77.34%, up from the 60% in 2014. A total of 153 megawatts of renewable IPPs went into commercial operation in December 2016, which will bring total contribution of the renewable IPPs to the national grid to 4,180 megawatts. Government, led by the Department of Energy, will finalize the IRP.
You have got 2 minutes, Minister.
Which will outline the final energy mix for the country. Part of that process will be to affirm decisions about economic life of power station. In that regard, concrete decisions on closure of power station will be finalized by then. Because Eskom is a strategic role player in the economy, government continues to support the completion of the BUILD program. The government framework agreement, which was due to expire or had to expire in March 2017, was extended to March 2023 to enable Eskom to tap capital markets to fund the BUILD program. So the new BUILD program is delivering. Ngula is in full operation, that's 1,333 megawatts. The Medupi units 5 and 6, full operation, that's 1,600 megawatts. Kusile Unit 1 in full commercial operation, and that's 800 megawatts. Eskom is expected to record a profit at the end of 2016-17 financial year and will continue to enhance its financial sustainability by unlocking cross-border trade to boost declining local demand. Eskom's asset base has increased to 691.7 billion rand in the third quarter of 2016, and that is mainly due to addition of Ngula pump storage system.
Minister, unfortunately, your time has expired. I'm sure you will come back to the others. Order, Honorable Ranto.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. House Chairperson, Honorable Minister, Mr. Lynn Brown, Honorable Deputy Minister, Mr. Ben Martins, the department officials, honorable members of parliament, and my committee members. Comrades present and distinguished guests, happy Africa Day. It is not only an honor that I stand here before you, South Africans, but it is a privilege that was fought for many decades ago. It was through intensity dedication that was waged against system of oppression, not only by men, but women of all ages and classes. The fight was directed to the apartheid regime, a system of oppression and discrimination which crumbled. And a shared vision of our nation was formed. The African National Congress, my political home, to which I have dedicated my life to, afforded us this freedom. Before I expand more on my ANC, Chairperson, please allow me to take this moment and call for an end on violence against women and children. Violence against young women and children is woven into the fabric which depicts a broken society where those victimized feels at fault. We should also take note of the fact that perpetrators of violence against women and children think any violence, any form of violence is acceptable in our society. In a country where choices are shattering before ourselves as women, the spate of violence limits our ability to make choices about our lives. Today, Chair, I want to give men a choice in a world imperfect as it is. There are two types of men, those who are cowards and those who stand up for women's rights. The choice is for all our males. Chair, Minister, Deputy Minister, honorable members and guests present here today, the ANC government was elected by the majority of South Africans in a hard-fought election in 2014. Despite many setbacks, the ANC won the general elections with majority. It was the IEC that declared those elections as free and fair. South Africans gave the ANC a huge mandate to carry their aspirations and dreams. South Africans did so because they believe it is only the ANC that understands the plight of the poor. They believe that the ANC will champion their hopes and dreams. They have a hope that under the leadership of the ANC, poverty,
Order, honorable
inequality,
members.
and unemployment will be reduced.
Order.
They did so because they know that
Honorable Chair, hold on. Honorable members, order. Honorable Khatebe, take a seat. I heard. Let me just say, Ngutu's elections have been won, yes. And let's all celebrate. Yeah. But what? Honorable members, order, honorable members. So I don't think we are going to be hearing about Ngutu now, but I just want to indicate order, honorable members. Honorable members, unfortunately, not even in translation, the member in pronouncing the name of the place actually used, no, honorable members, Honorable Sbu, the member might not have been aware that in the pronunciation it says something else. So I forgive the member for not knowing
Order, Chair.
Honorable
Honorable Van
Sbu.
Dam must apologize for
Honorable
insulting
Sbu.
us.
Honorable Khadebe. Honorable Khadebe, when the chair is presiding, we allow the chair to conclude and then we can raise a point of order. For now, I've clarified the matter of your concern because I also heard. That's why I was assisting you. I won't repeat it. We will do some Zulu classes at a later stage. Honorable member, you can proceed. There is no withdrawal, honorable member, that you will receive because it was not intentional. Proceed, honorable
They have
Rancho.
a hope that under the leadership of the ANC, poverty, inequality, and unemployment will be reduced. They did so because they know that a united ANC is a united South Africa. The ANC has declared this year as the year dedicated to our late former ANC president, Oliver Tambo, hashtag the year of OR Tambo. A visionary leader of the movement left the ANC with a huge task. Among those tasks Tambo gave us is to strengthen the functioning of our state-owned companies. This is why we say all entities have a role to play in a quest to build a developmental state. The Department of Public Enterprises has presented its annual performance plan for 2017-18 financial year. It would be of great importance to remind my fellow South Africans that the department plays a pivotal role in both government and the SOCs. Public Enterprises is a shareholder representative of government at the SOCs. Its mandate is to fulfill an oversight responsibility by ensuring that the SOCs play a fundamental role in helping government in achieving the objectives of the NDP and the realization of the national democratic revolution. But the key question that this budget vote has to answer is, has this department, through its oversight, ensured that its SOCs has contributed to the national economic development through the mobilization of domestic and foreign capital and other social capital formations? And has this resulted in a sustainable partnership for the future? State-owned companies are very crucial in driving the state's strategic objectives of creating jobs and enhancing equity and ultimately transformation. The National Development Plan Vision 2030 underlines the key aspects in pursuit of a developmental state in order for us to build a professional public service and a state capable of playing a transformative and developmental role. The NDP requires us to promote collaboration between all sections of society and strong leadership, particularly in the SOCs. Chairperson, SOCs are fundamental pillars in our pursuit for developmental state. It is therefore of paramount importance that their state of governance is sound. In fact, SOCs must be headed by strong leaders and competent executives. Despite numerous setbacks with the SOCs, there are, however, sterling improvements made by SOCs over the past few years. And this is to say they must remain in the hands of the government in order to respond effectively to the developmental goals of the ANC government. Fellow South Africans, particularly young women, should form an integral part of SOCs' plans and programs. And indeed, SOCs such as DENEL have contributed significantly in the drive to transform young women's lives. DENEL has multitude of programs targeting females and young women at school level to encourage them to enter their field of work. DENEL has put into practice models focusing on leadership and talent. Their career outreach programs in place in the given year trained a total of 355 first-year students, notwithstanding the short course offered to students too. As part of the DENEL employee volunteerism program, more than 1,000 high school learners from Vrystaat, Lijueliputswa, and Garib district incorporating Tromsberg, Forisberg, Zastron, Olin were offered extra classes by DENEL engineers and technicians. DENEL plays pays salaries for extra teachers from 3 primary schools here in Bredasdorp so that the schools can accommodate more learners from the area and avoid commuting of learners. Eskom, a multi-billion company, has over the years contributed significantly to the country's fight against stubborn unemployment rate. Eskom alone has 47,000 employees as per their annual report. This is an improvement since 2014.
You have got 2
despite
minutes.
our, sorry, 2 minutes. Aibo. Let me take this 2 minutes. Let me also reiterate my words that I have spoken the last time. I said, in load shedding, it was on this very podium when I said load shedding is not a problem, but means of maintaining what we have. Today, load shedding is a thing of the past. And we are not acknowledged as the ANC government about that. SA Express has young pilots. This entity, as much as there are problems within the entity, but we have young pilots who went through various trainings. Now they are full-time pilots at SAX. In pursuit of good governance and transforming our society, the department has given the committee more reason in line with the PFMA and National Treasury prescripts to stand behind the proposed annual performance plan of 2017-2018 financial year, in making sure that the ANC continues to carry the dreams and aspiration of the majority of the poor and young women. We, as the ANC, we have resolved to support the budget vote of public enterprises. But Chair, I just want to say to the communities of South Africa, this department, public enterprises, deals exactly, its entities deals exactly with young people. We need more young people to enter into the space. There are programs in all the entities of public enterprises that are focused to young people. So young people of South Africa, take advantage of this
Honorable
and make
member,
yourselves very valuable in
your
South Africa.
time
Thank you
is
very
up.
much.
We welcome the young pilots. I can see them in the gallery. Well, Honorable Deputy Chief Whip of the Majority Party, I thought you were joining the pilots. Honorable Mazon.
House Chairperson, Members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and a very happy Africa Day. Today I dedicate my 2017 budget vote to the brave men and women of South Africa who, despite facing tremendous pressure, potential job loss and alienation from certain sectors, have boldly spoken out and exposed corruption, state capture, nepotism, cronyism and mismanagement. To you all, I say thank you on behalf of South Africa for your determination to look after the South African coffers and for your relentless patriotism in the face of serious opposition from the highest echelons of power. Your names will go down in history as true South African heroes. Our state-owned entities are not just in a state of chaos, they are in fact in a state of capture. Every single morning, another scandal breaks in the media. If we are not dealing with a Gupta-associated business being given tenders, we are dealing with children of employees being given multi-million rand deals, or most recently, resignations, no wait, retirements, no wait, retrenchments, no, reappointments of CEOs to our boards. Minister Brown will never be able to recover her credibility after this fiasco. Her own caucus has accused her of perjury. The Public Protector has certainly had her hands full with the DA requesting multiple investigations within the SOEs. We have asked the Public Protector to probe revelations in the unfolding nepotism scandal at Eskom involving the then CEO, Mr. Machele Koko, and his stepdaughter, who he didn't really know or did know, Ms. Choma, and the 1 million rand donation that was paid from Choma's country to the ANC, I guess she really was a choma to the ANC. The DA has asked the public protector to include this new shocking allegation of a massive donation to the ANC into an already established investigation into Coco Choma as requested by the DA in March of 2017. It now appears that not only did Coco allegedly and improperly award the tenders worth 1 billion rand to Impulse International, a company in which his stepdaughter is a director, when he was the then head of Eskom's generation, but the arrangement was used as a conduit to siphon money to the ANC. The public protector must now investigate and expose exactly what the relationship between Coco, Choma, Impulse, and the ANC really is. It cannot be accepted that public money was allegedly and improperly directed towards family insiders of the acting CEO of Eskom, only to land in the hands of the ANC. This latest revelation, including intimidation of journalists who have exposed the scandal, shows the lengths to which those with much to lose are willing to cover up. Eskom has been reluctant to release the Denton report that contains details of widespread corruption at the parastatal, and it seems that this corruption scandal and others are increasing under the current leadership. The DA welcomed Public Enterprises Minister Lynn Brown's rejection of the exorbitant and unjustified 30 million rand golden handshake or pension payout or whatever it was to disgraced Brian Molefe. Indeed, after leaving Eskom under the most swirling clouds of state capture allegations and close collusions with the Guptas, and then being rewarded with an ANC seat, albeit a back seat, in Parliament, Mr. Molefe does not reserve a single cent from the South African public. Our joy, however, was very short-lived, as we soon learnt of the return of Brian Molefe to Eskom. This was a monumental disaster for the power utility, which is currently in dire straits, and is surrounded by a wave of Gupta-linked corruption allegations as a result of Molefe's tenure. The return of Molefe to Eskom will see the Gupta hand return to the power utility, and most likely to forthcoming nuclear deals. This is something which South Africa cannot accept. We do not want the Gupta family involved in our state-owned entities. It was clear that the Public Protector's damning state of capture report showed that Molefe was seriously compromised in his position at Eskom. He himself, on leaving Eskom, when he resigned, cited the interests of corporate good governance as his requisition for leaving. The state of capture report details close relationships between Molefe and the Guptas, and how key decisions that were taken by Molefe as the head of Eskom were for the ultimate benefit of the Gupta family. Molefe called AJ Gupta a total of 44 times, and AJ Gupta called Molefe a total of 14 times in 8 months. Molefe can further be placed at Saxonwold, in the Saxonwold area, on 19 occasions between August 2015 and November 2015. Importantly, the criminal charges that I have laid against Molefe still stand and are actively being investigated by the South African Police Service. Let's hope they can also find the shebeen. The ANC have themselves come out and said that Molefe is unfit to return to Eskom. To the ANC, I say, you are correct. Eskom has not had his name cleared yet. This is somewhat ironic, given the fact that just the other day, the very people who said that he was not fit to serve at the helm of Eskom had him in their backbenches in Parliament. You should be very, very embarrassed. The damning allegations by the former Minister of Mineral Resources, Mr. Ramatlodi, that Eskom's then CEO, Brian Molefe, and chairperson, Ben Ngubane, and yes, that is the same Dr. Ngubane, who was also the chair of the SABC board, tried to force him to withdraw the Optimum Glencore mining license in a bid to help the Guptas take over the Glencore mine. These allegations are astounding and deserve a full-scale investigation. I am most pleased that the Committee on Public Enterprises has stood firm and agreed that, in fact, a full-scale parliamentary investigation will begin into the shenanigans at Eskom. Chairperson, I advised the Minister on Tuesday, and I will repeat myself today. Please suspend the board of Eskom with immediate effect. Please send a full team from the Public Enterprises Department to Megawatt Park and collect all the documents pertaining to the reappointment of Brian Molefe, as well as all documents related to alleged corruption charges, so that we know that they are safe and are unable to be destroyed. We cannot afford any further load shedding. Denel has had their fair share of scandals involving, of course, the family that's caused our SOEs to be in the current state that they are, the Guptas. To this end, Denel will be called to appear before the committee together with National Treasury, so that once and for all, we get to the bottom of these state of capture allegations. Perhaps the next time they appear, they'll be better prepared to answer our many questions. South Africa is not for sale. Our state-owned entities cannot and shall not be bought by the Gupta family, and certainly not with the help of Number One. As the web of state capture starts to unravel, so will the stranglehold that this unwelcome family has over our country. The time is now to put a stop to corruption and state capture. South Africa is not for sale, not on our watch.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Khawula.
The EFF celebrates the 54th anniversary of Africa Unity as signified by the founding of Organization of African Unity in Addis Ababa. The adopted charter of the founding of Organization of African Unity noted, amongst others, it is our responsibility as Africa to harness the natural and human resources of our continent for the total advancement of our peoples in all spheres of human undertaking. Long live African Unity, long live. The EFF rejects the budget vote 9 of the Department of Public Enterprise. We stand here as the EFF to warn South Africans. We want to warn the country before it is too late. We want to warn the country before the lights are out and Eskom has collapsed. We want to warn the country before South Africa Airways flights are grounded and cannot fly anymore. We want to warn South Africans before our ports of entry of goods are closed and Transnet is nothing but a shadow of the former itself. The EFF stands here to warn South Africans before Denel is no longer a state-owned entity, but an entire Gupta-owned entity. They have already started taking it piece by piece, and the corrupt joint venture between Denel and the 21 years old Atul Gupta's nephew is just the beginning. As the EFF, we have questioned the existence of this department and correctly illustrated why it should not exist. But let's deal with the nonsensical state of affairs circus at Eskom. On the 14th of October 2016, the Public Protector released a state of capture report, and big part of it deals with the corrupt deals between Brian Molefe and the Guptas. On the 11th of November 2016, Brian Molefe resigns as the CEO of Eskom, citing the state of capture report, and he said he wants to clear his name, and he has not done that. On the 11th of November 2016, the minister accepts the resignation of Brian Molefe, and it was accepted as such. On the 30th of November, the minister approved the acting CEO, Mr. Koko, citing the resignation of Brian Molefe. There was never any confusion around Brian Molefe's resignation, and it was beyond reasonable doubt, clear as a day. The minister must not come here and try to mislead Parliament. Please respect Parliament and the people of South Africa, lest we accuse you of lying. And let us remind South Africans why Brian Molefe resigns. On the state of capture report, the Public Protector found that proximity between Guptas and Brian Molefe was extremely uncomfortable and toxic. This is the same relationship which led to the Gupta company, Tegeta, awarded contracts worth billions. And Brian Molefe is not disputing the funding. Now we stand here as the EFF to call for Parliament thorough inquiry into Eskom board because they have failed in executing their mandate. The inquiry must also subject some of the matter that Eskom and Mr. Molefe have not objected, not disputing. But at a much more strategic level, we call for dissolution of the Department of Public Enterprise and its entities that fall under the department must be moved to line function of department. SAA and Transnet must go to transport. Eskom must go to energy, and all other entities to the respective line function department. And let's do away with this nonsense. There is no amount of crocodile tears of Brian Molefe that will fool us. We're told he's going to cry again. He worked for 18 months in Eskom and he resigned. He demands a 30 million pension fund. Haibe tunakandi sipina up. Sithini kubasebenzi baseMarikana ababulaweli 12,500 kuphela. Sithini komama basemakitchini abahlawulwa i-1,200 ngenyanga. Sithini kubasebenzi basezifama ababhatalwa i-900 neqamba lo-mil. Sithini kodade bethu abaphangele KFC, kwaSpare nako-McDonald's abahlawulwa nge-tips. Brian Molefe noTata Ngubane nesibindi. We reject the budget vote. Thank you.
Order, Honorable Member, Honorable Singh. Order, Honorable Members. English is not all our first language, so we must respect one another. Order.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I start by reminding honorable members about Rule 63, freedom of speech. The IFP campaigns using a winning slogan, trust us. We cannot take these two words very lightly because you have to instill trust and confidence in the people that you are speaking to. That's exactly what we did yesterday in Ngutu, where we had a landslide victory of 58%, thrashing the ruling party, the ANC, and taking away 4 wards from them. Halala to Ngutu, halala. Now, why do I raise this, Honorable Chairperson? I raise this because can we put the same faith and trust that the people of Ngutu had as members of parliament in this Department of Public Enterprises, in the ministry, and in the SOCs that fall under them? The simple answer to that is no. The challenges facing this department can be succinctly summed up as primarily being the continued lack of oversight and the holding of SOCs to account. SOCs, unfortunately, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, have become the cash cows and ATMs of certain well-connected individuals and families. Whenever you want money, you go to the ATM. They don't have to even put a card. The money comes out for them. That is what is happening with our SOCs. Eskom has been the poster child of poor governance at our SOCs for at least the 2 terms of this parliament. It remains such to this day. On Tuesday, the Minister and Chairman of the Board of the Power Utility appeared before the Portfolio Committee to answer to the reappointment, whatever word you want to use, re-emergence of Brian Molefe as the CEO. The meeting was a comedy of errors. We left that meeting knowing no more than we had before we got there. Now the question is why? Why do such things have to happen? Why does a glorious organization like the African National Congress that fought for liberation have to put itself through such shame and disgrace? But what we admire, Honorable Chairperson, is that the African National Congress have come out strongly and condemned the reappointment of Brian Molefe. Well done to you for doing that. Honorable Chairperson, I also want to say, on the 12th of May, I wrote in as a member of the committee to the Speaker for the appointment of an ad hoc committee to inquire about what's happening at Eskom, because a lot is wrong, and there's prima facie evidence of that in the State of Capture report. Honorable Minister, I've heard you say that you're appointing some commission of inquiry. Too little, too late. Money has been looted and continues to be looted under your watch. Let's look at some of the other state-owned enterprises. Let's look at Denel. I mean, we also had a briefing with Denel and the connection with the VR Laser Asia Group. I mean, it's shocking that these kind of things can happen where you get middlemen who will try and steal millions from the state and from taxpayers of this country. Look at South African Express Airways. To date, they have still not submitted the 2015-16 annual financial statements. Alexco, reports that Alexcor still causes divisions amongst the community in Alexander Bay. Safcol, the CEO and CFO of Safcol, both resigned in 2016. To date, the positions of the CEO and the Chief Operating Officer are in an acting capacity. The government shareholder management bill, which is still on the table, and we don't know, there's no time frame when it's going to be done. In all good faith, Honorable Chairperson, the IFP cannot support this budget vote. We have done it continuously in the hope that there will be proper oversight over public enterprises. We don't see that happening. And we would also suggest that these public enterprises fall under line function departments. Eskom go to energy, Alexcor go to the diamonds or mineral resources, Safcol go to agriculture, and maybe there will be better oversight there. And in saying this, Honorable Chairperson, no disrespect to the minister and the new deputy minister, but we who have responsibility of oversight of all government departments and state-owned enterprises have to do this in the interest of the South African public. Thank you.
I am very happy about this patriotic spirit. I've been hearing the DA, I've not heard the EFF saying halala ngutu, but it's very interesting. Honorable Shalembe.
Chairperson, as the National Freedom Party, we reiterate our policy position that the government should not be financially involved in any enterprise which is not directly aligned to its development obligations. For us, entities that contribute directly to service delivery are the only entities which should be government-sponsored and managed. All others should be relegated to the private sector, where they could become economically viable and add to the state revenue through taxes, rather than being the financial drain and burden which they currently are. Chairperson, it is our considered opinion that this Department of Public Enterprise should be dissolved altogether. Alesco, Daniel, and South African Forestry Company should be sold off to become fully French private sector companies, as none of them are directly linked to government development obligations. South African Express Airways should be merged with South African Airways. Transnet and Eskom can be restructured and moved to the Department of Transport and Energy, respectively. However, be that as it may, as the shareholder representative of government in the state-owned companies, the Department of Public Enterprise is supposed to ensure that SOCs fulfill their developmental goals as far as they are linked to the NDP. To enable the department to execute its mandate, an amount of 260.7 million has been allocated for 2017-2018, which is a slight decrease from the 268 million allocated in the previous financial year. The question we have to ask, however, is whether the department is fulfilling its mandate. The answer is no, and the return of Brian Molefe to Eskom is a fine example of the department failing to execute its mandate. Minister Brown's lack of leadership to oppose the reappointment of Mr. Molefe as the CEO of Eskom is an example of just how ill-advised she is. Despite the department making provision for legal governance in Program 2 of its budget plan. Chairperson, we cannot continue to rely on the courts to ensure transparent and accountable government in South Africa. The time has come for our ministers and senior government officials to do their job properly as it is expected of them. Millions of rands are wasted every year on defending legal actions against the state, which could have been avoided if government ministers and officials were properly advised and if they took decisions in the interest of accountable and transparent government. As the NFP will say that the time has come to take action against incompetence in government, and nobody should be immune from accountability, and being an ANC currently deployee should not be shielded from accountability any longer. And let me add that The time has come for Parliament to strengthen its oversight too, for we are the representative of the people, and we owe it to the people to ensure that government adheres to our constitutional right to be governed lawfully and in an accountable and transparent manner. In conclusion, the NFP does not support the report on budget vote 29. I thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is the Deputy Minister.
Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, Honorable Minister Brown and other esteemed ministers and deputy ministers present, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Director General of the Department, Chairpersons and board members of state-owned companies, Chief Executives and senior managers of state-owned companies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and happy Africa Day. The Department of Public Enterprises oversees 6 state-owned companies, namely Eskom, Denel, the South African Forestry Company Limited, Eskom, South African Express Airways, and Transnet. The state-owned companies form an integral part of the South African economy, and their performance has a direct impact on the economy's competitiveness and performance. As a shareholder ministry, acting on behalf of government, the ministry ensures that the department carries out its mandate to ensure that state-owned companies under its remit are focused on prioritized outcomes. The department's strategic objectives thus include, amongst others, the following. 1, the promotion of the independent financial sustainability of state-owned companies and the commercial viability of their operations. 2, the promotion of transformation in their value chain and their suppliers to actualize broad-based Black economic empowerment through the creation of jobs, skills development, and inclusive growth. 3, the creation of an enabling policy, regulatory and operating environment for state-owned companies. Whilst we share the ministerial responsibilities in a collegial manner, Minister Brown has entrusted the shareholder oversight of Denel, Sefcol, and Eskom to me. Eskom is a diamond mining company operating primarily in Alexander Bay and the greater Namaqualand region. Its operations include both marine and land mining. During the current financial year, the department completed a desktop study of the Richtersveld diamond deposit. This study confirmed that it is possible to extend the life of the Eskom pooling and sharing joint venture with the community beyond its current estimated 10-year lifespan. Eskom experienced operational challenges during the 2016-17 financial year. It did not meet its carat production target set for the year under review. However, its diamonds revenue increased from 386.5 million in 2015-16 to 758 million in 2016-17. Additional economic opportunities for the community of Richtersveld and its environs is expected as mining operations expand in the next 2 to 3 years. With regard to Denel, the Portfolio Committee at its meeting of the 24th of May 2017 resolved to hold a meeting at the earliest opportunity with the board of Denel and officials of National Treasury to resolve issues pertaining to Denel Asia. Pursuant to the resignation of the former Group Chief Executive Officer and Financial Officer in 2015, the Denel board has finalized the recruitment process for both positions and made recommendations to the minister. Denel continues to grow its revenue. Its acquisition of the Land Systems South Africa will in all likelihood enhance its capability to design and manufacture multi-purpose armored vehicles that will enable it to compete in the lucrative international market. Furthermore, according to a report in hand, the development of the small African regional aircraft is proceeding according to plan. Denel's aerostructures delivery on the Airbus A400M contract continues on time and on specification deliveries. With regard to corporate social investment, Denel's physical science and mathematics outreach programs to schools in indigent communities continues to yield excellent results, as the 2016 matriculant results in the Free State province attest, for example. A cursory fact sheet of the South African Forestry Company Limited reveals that it manages and develops commercial forests. Its activities include timber harvesting and processing. During the 2015-16 financial year, the department conducted a review of SAFCOL's financial position. SAFCOL has a sound balance sheet that can support its capital expenditure program over the medium term. The changes, however, in the company's executive committee had a negative impact on it. The board of SAFCOL was reminded by the ministry of its responsibility to speed up the process of employing a chief executive officer. Except for Denel, all the state-owned companies under the remit of the Department of Public Enterprises are established in terms of their own enabling legislation, which sets out the purpose, mandate, and objectives for which they were founded. All these state-owned companies are incorporated as companies in accordance with the provisions of the Companies Act of 2008. The responsibilities of the ministry and the department are to ensure effective shareholder oversight of these state-owned companies by ensuring continuous alignment between shareholder strategic intent and the objectives of state-owned companies. The objectives of the department are, through state-owned companies, to meet South Africa's goals of reducing unemployment, fighting poverty, ensuring that the economy grows, and that the objectives of the National Development Plan are met. The challenge, however, is to achieve this without let and hindrance of private or public sector corruption. The ministry and the department further have a duty of supporting state-owned companies to deliver on their shareholder compacts and corporate plans. The conundrum of the able career public servant, Mr. Brian Molifa's exit and return at Eskom has starkly foregrounded the need for the ministry and the department to sharpen their approach to shareholder oversight. Furthermore, the vexed matter concerning Tegeta, a company associated with the Gupta family, was also raised in the meeting of the Portfolio Committee addressed by the Minister of Public Enterprises and the chairperson and board members of Eskom on Tuesday, the 23rd May 2017. The Standing Committee on Public Accounts will, on the 30th of May 2017, consider the PricewaterhouseCoopers report on the supply of coal to Eskom by Tegeta. Fairness, transparency, and justice demand full disclosure on this matter, namely that the veil covering coal purchases be lifted to expose all the names of all the companies, the terms and nature of their contracts, the volumes they supplied, and the monetary payment they received for it since 1994 be revealed.
Thank you very
It
much,
is-
Honorable Deputy Minister. With those claps of hand, your time has expired, unfortunately.
Thank you.
No, thank you very much. The next speaker is Honorable Nkwankwa.
Thank you, House Chair and honorable members. State-owned enterprises are instrumental in the South African economy as vehicles to support economic development. In 2015 alone, SOEs made infrastructure investments to the tune of 160 billion rand in the South African economy, which is up from a mere 25 billion rands in 2005. It is, however, important to note that Eskom and Transnet account for more than 56% of this, which is about 90 billion rands. Remember the saying, to catch a thief, you must think like a thief. So for Mr. Zuma and his cronies, the opportunity cost of keeping a useful Brian Molefe as a backbencher in Parliament was Eskom tenders. For any brazen thief, this is a price too high to bear. The whole business around the scandalous reappointment of Brian Molefe as the Eskom CEO can largely be viewed in this context. It is also an indication that Mr. Zuma and his cronies, or faction of the ANC, have lost their sense of decency and are running helter-skelter, searching for grab instruments available at their disposal in their effort to loot state resources in the shortest possible time. No amount of spin can change this fact, unfortunately, Honorable Minister. What I cannot comprehend, however, is how the so-called, remember now we have an official ANC and an unofficial ANC, allows Mr. Zuma and his cronies to go about his illegal activities with brazen assurance. You quite frankly seem to be at your wit's end. Don't worry. That's why we're fighting for a secret ballot during the debate on the vote of no confidence. Once we have removed him from power and stripped him of all his ill-gotten wealth, we'll leave it up to you to exclaim and say, but the emperor has no clothes. House Chair, be aware that most of our SOEs have over the years experienced major governance failures due to weak accountability, over-bureaucratization, excessive politicization, and unclear objectives. It is common knowledge that in South Africa, SOEs absorb a substantial amount of resources and actually impose a heavy burden on the fiscus. For proof, one has to look no further than Eskom and SAA and others which were mentioned here. These challenges occurred despite government initiating a comprehensive review of state-owned enterprises in 2012. There is also a challenge where ANC cadres who could not be deployed in Parliament here or in the executive are dumped at SOEs, or SOEs are used as dumping grounds for these comrades. Otherwise, how would you explain the promotion of Dr. Ngubane from SABC to Eskom when he's responsible for the mess in which the SABC finds itself today? For these reasons and many other reasons that were mentioned here today, the United Democratic Movement does not support this budget vote. Government shareholder management bill. I remember, for instance, sihleli no Honorable Mazone last year. Sihleli no Honorable Mazone and other colleagues last year. trying to tell you to set timelines to some of the things that we recommend to these departments. We sit there, we craft these recommendations, they do absolutely nothing about them. And then come the following year, we have to sit and discuss exactly the same issues again. As if we've gone gaga. Kanti lungiseni lo masipala abarhulumente benu manje kulawula into engekhoyo apha okanye sabathatha la maseko.
Thank you very much. Order, man. The next speaker is Honorable Alberts.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, your department has become the feeding ground for a small but ferocious group of public employees and their private sector connections that are eating and stripping public and private assets like piranhas. This was already the case when you became minister, but under your watch has now escalated to a level that makes the horror movie by the same name look like a Sunday school picnic. Minister, onder u toesig het ons die mees bizarre en platante vorme van staatskaping gesien ontvou en het speel steeds voor ons af soos 'n swak thriller. If we dare to watch this film, we see the usual suspects appearing again and again. The Gupta-linked regiment's capital has, after its lucrative BBBE Capitec shares deal, moved on to nest itself deep within Transnet. With the help of their connected friend Stanley Shane, they were appointed to perform tasks that Transnet could perform themselves. Mr. Shane moved on to become the chairperson of the two struggling Transnet funds, whose pensioners are now in an 80 billion rand court struggle against Transnet for stripping their funds. And lo and behold, quite coincidentally, Regiments is suddenly appointed as the fund manager for the two struggling pension funds and recently removed when they were caught performing a transaction in conflict of interest. Under your watch, Minister, these type of actions are taking place while you know that thousands of black and white Transnet pensioners live in abject poverty, many of them committing suicide due to their dire financial situation. I've begged you to do something for them to no avail, now only to learn that you have allowed the Guptas close to their pension funds the little that's left. It is a disgrace that you are allowing thousands of your ex-employees to die in poverty on your watch. And I ask you again to do something about this if you have a heart. Regiments has now taken on a new form as trillion capital partners, and boy, are these partners now raking in it at Transnet. But the screenplay only gets better as Trillion is now comfortably nested in Eskom with multi-million rand contracts being awarded for who knows what. And of course, the Eskom connection brings us close to a certain individual called Mr. Brian Molefe, the CEO or ex-CEO, now CEO again, or maybe not, of Eskom and part-time member of parliament. It's all a little bit confusing. So whatever Mr. Molefe is and does, other than advancing payments to the Geta, we know this. He receives a lot of money from Eskom to hang around, even when he hangs around in Parliament. But he also presided over Transnet when it was discovered that two Transnet pension funds were being plundered and had been plundered over the years. Knowing that those black and white pensioners live in poverty, his only known reaction was to tell those pensioners they do not deserve a better life as they are previously advantaged. And if they are going to march to the union buildings, he will be there waiting for them. Meneer Molefe is baie braaf as dit kom om ou mense te dreig. Wel, ek wil vir meneer Molefe sê, jy kan in jou skroef invlieg, want ons gaan sorg dat jy en almal wat die pensionarisse besteel het, self bankrot verklaar word en in die tronk beland. Die wiel gaan draai. Die Gupta tentakels is oral sigbaar, selfs in VR laser. Minister, the Guptas and their friends are living it up right under your nose. We give you the benefit of the doubt that you are not drinking cocktails with them. If so, now that you know what is happening, please, you must act and clean the system. And you must help the Transnet pensioners. If not, we will know that you are also captured. I thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Honorable Kata.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, state-owned enterprises are central to advancing our national objective through providing economic and social infrastructure. Our SOEs play a vital role in terms of the direct services they provide. Their importance is further compounded by the fact that they tend to be concentrated in strategic sectors such as air and rail transport, energy, and water supply. The nation's access to water, electricity, and transportation, amongst others, is almost entirely dependent on the state operating through these corporate vehicles. In some sectors, SOEs also benefit from favorable monopolistic market positions which hinder rather than promote competition and private sector development. So, SOEs can either foster or seriously retard our development. The unfortunate reality is that many of our SOEs are characterized by major corporate governance failures, including weak accountability, excessive politicization, chronic underperformance with poor return on government investment, and continuous reliance on government support, whether in the form of explicit government guarantees, subsidies, or bailouts. Now, Minister, if one reads the State of Capture report, if one takes cognizance of the SACC's unburdening report, and if one connects the dots, they all spell out Zupta, grand corruption, looting committed on a great scale with absolute impunity, state capture, and a mafia state, with big red flags over Eskom and Transnet. According to the unburdening report, our illegitimate president, power elite, undermines and captures the state by securing control over state wealth through the capture of SOEs, by chronically weakening their governance of operational structures, securing access to rent-seeking opportunities by using regulatory instruments to make arbitrary decisions, securing control over procurement opportunities by intentionally weakening key technical institutions and formal executive processes, securing parallel governance and decision-making structures that undermine the executive. Now, Madam Minister, whichever way you look at it, the dots create a link to you through your actions and your lack of actions. Thus far, you seem to have adopted what is now referred to as the Zuma defense position. I did not know, I was not aware, and nobody told me. The fact is that you are the state's shareholder representative of, amongst others, Eskom, Transnet, and Denel. And paraphrasing from the SASSA Constitutional Court judgment, you, Madam Minister, bear primary responsibility to ensure that Eskom fulfill its function. You appoint the board. The office holder ultimately responsible is the person who holds executive political office, and that is you, Honourable Minister. It is the Minister who is required in terms of a constitution to account to Parliament. Minister, it must have hurt deeply when a journalist asked you about an apparent disconnect between the principled Lynn Brown and Lynn Brown as Public Enterprises Minister. Minister, it is time to unburden. COPE calls on you to please dissolve the Eskom and Denel boards, and COPE further supports the calls for the appointment of a full-scale parliamentary inquiry into Eskom and Denel without any further delay. And I have to say, as the Congress of the People, the only vote that we will support is the vote of no confidence in the President and his cabinet.
Thank you very much, Honourable Ketty. The next speaker is Honourable Luyenge.
Honourable House Chair, the Minister of Public Enterprises, the Deputy Minister, honourable members of this August House, allow me to, on behalf of the African National Congress, declare that we have no choice but to support this important budget for the development. We cannot take any other direction. We cannot do anything without budget. So the prophecies of doom have said everything that they want to take, but we will never be deterred and derailed by what they say. Our recent experience of managing SOCs to make certain interventions were all aimed at improving the then prevailing situation, and these included the adoption of turnaround strategies and the presidential review of SOCs. Emanating from these, Chairperson, we have witnessed improvements in the performance of some companies while others are still lagging behind. For example, Honorable Chair, the implementation of a turnaround strategy at Denel has brought out positive outcomes. Over the past 3 years, Denel has posted profits and the trend has remained upwards. In 2015-16, the company grew its revenue by 41% or 8.2 billion. From the previous financial year, Chair, export revenue in that year constituted 58% of total revenue, and net profit was 395 million, an increase of 125 million from the previous fiscal financial year. Denel is one of those examples which demonstrate how optimizing partnership with the private sector can be beneficial for both parties and the country as a whole. Denel has made strides in achieving sustainability and has been ranked among the top 100 global defense manufacturers for the past 2 consecutive years. We must never allow any regressions in this regard. Congratulations, the board of Denel and that management. However, despite this rapid growth, there are some challenges facing Denel which relates to liquidity and over-reliance on foreign markets. In his State of the Nation address this year, the President, Jacob Zuma Hlekisa, announced that the South African Navy also participates in the Operation Pakisa project and is preparing to host the government garage concept for all state-owned vessels in Simonstown. This government garage concept includes, honorable members, the maintenance and repair of government-owned vessels through the newly established South African Navy Armscor-Denel partnership. It is important that the companies should acutely deliver on this important commitment by the government. Pertaining to SAFCOL, Honorable Chair, the company's mandate is to ensure that the sustainable management of plantation forests, increase downstream timber processing, and play a catalytic role in rural economic development and transformation. The company's financial performance remains under pressure because of slow growth in revenue and a continual increase in costs. We believe that the situation warrants expansion through diversification of product offering and access new markets guided by a clear growth and development plan. However, the resumption of its operations in Mozambique is important in realizing its African ambitions. As the ANC, we further advise SAFCOL to do more in compensating communities around their operations and work closely with the communities to find amicable solutions on instances relating to land under claims. Pertaining to the question of level investment on strategic SOCs, the ANC's guidance as per the 53rd National Conference categorically states that government should strive for balance that supports industrialization, are biased towards job creation, ensure long-term stability and sustainable growth, and development that bolster the growth of domestic industrial capacity, and in making policy trade-offs will select those that favor productive sector of the economy, unquote. This policy position therefore warrants that resource allocation and thus budgeting must favor strategic manufacturing entities of state such as Denel, Alexco, and SAFCOL, which in turn must bolster the growth of domestic industrial capacity. In this regard, we commend the budget increased from 19.7 million in 2016-17 to 22 million in 2019-20, an increase of 3.7% in nominal terms. In the same vein, Your Honor, must also indicate that in real terms, when considering population growth and inflation, the budget increase may be marginal and thus make it difficult for these companies to meet goals we set for in the National Development Plan. For example, the National Development Plan declares that by 2030, South Africa needs to be served by a set of efficient, financially sound, and well-governed SOEs that address countries' developmental objectives in areas where neither the executive arms of government nor private enterprises can do so effectively. These companies must deliver a quality and reliable service at a cost that enables South Africa to be globally competitive. Chairperson, we reiterate that central to all the priorities of state-owned entities for this fiscal year, it must be to ensure the implementation of all the relevant recommendations of the Presidential Review Committee. In particular, we call upon all entities to focus on 3 broad sets of reforms to ensure sustainable improvements in performance as advanced by the NDP. These include 1, clarity on the mandate, clarity, simplified and straightforward governance structure, and dealing with capacity constraints. Moreover, we call for SOEs to ensure that the portion of the budget for the human capacity of the department must be biased towards sector-specific specialists required for oversight rather than the administration. Acceleration of transformation programs promote industrialization and support small and medium enterprises that are owned by women, youth, and people with disabilities. The corporate social investment programs of state-owned companies must adequately reach out to rural and poor communities, Paya Emakai. Develop a framework that will prohibit companies from challenging litigation cases which are not winnable. Therefore, the African National Congress supports this budget and say no to privatization and say forward to strong SOEs as Eskom, Denel, Transnet, and everyone else. Keep it up, Honorable Minister, we are behind you. Umbutho wesizwe usemva kwakhe, ungamamela amawashawasha.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Honorable Swart.
Thank you, Chairperson. Whilst we in the ACDP join others in celebrating Africa Day, we also as believers share in those celebrating Ascension Day today, and we say, Malabongwe, Igama Nkosi. The ACDP wishes to commend the Portfolio Committee as well for the vigorous oversight that it exercises and did this last week over Eskom. And we know the Finance Ministry as well as credit ratings agencies have correctly pointed out the fiscal risk that SOEs pose, particularly where there are significant state guarantees. And it is time that we as parliamentarians followed the example that we set on the SABC inquiry. And so we from the ACDP fully support a full parliamentary inquiry into the revelations that we've heard about Eskom, knowing that Eskom has a 350 billion rand state guarantee and is the backbone of the country's economy in providing power. It is also the subject of the most intensive state capture, according to the prima facie evidence available in various government reports. And of course, the Public Protector's reports, the PwC report, Denton, National Treasury's report, and others. Now, the explanations surrounding Mr. Molefe have been raised by other members, and it just is not credible, that reappointment explanations. But we know the courts will shortly decide on that. And so we are considering this whole aspect of the parliamentary inquiry. And at the same time, Minister, thank you for considering our proposal about the involvement of a separate ministerial inquiry involving the SIU, because when we as the SABC parliamentary inquiry conducted our affairs, and the benefit is that witnesses have to come and testify and provide all evidence under the protection of civil or criminal actions. But then we had to refer it to the SIU. Here we need to take urgent action. Here we need to have another parallel process as well, where the SIU can act quickly. The Asset Forfeiture Unit can act quickly because that money is already moving out of the country and is already sitting in Dubai. So we need to take urgent action to investigate what is going around the Tegeta contracts, what is going around Eskom and the other contracts. The prima facie evidence is there. And yes, Minister, you indicated there be no convictions. But at the moment, we've only got that one version before us, besides blank denials and, of course, an oblique reference to a Shabin in Saxonwold. So we need, as Parliament, to exercise sufficient oversight to get to the truth of the matter and to find out, because as other speakers have said, we in Parliament and our country is not for sale. And we see, as former Minister Gordhan says, the dots are being circulated and drawn together. And what is significant is the church is starting to take a stand in this nation. The church is starting to arise. Believers are starting to arise. These are your supporters. And thankfully, the ANC is seeing that as well, that their supporters are starting to say, this is so far, cannot continue, and we need to take a stance in this regard. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Honorable Tsedu.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Muhulisei Ministara na mtusa Ministara. Bathompei wote na vaeni vadivalenga wangareza. Sa ANC ritikeza mgaganyagwama wa muhasho wa mabindu a mbuso. Claiming to represent the poor but reject the budget to fund the programs aimed at improving their quality of life is a very serious contradiction. Shame on you to my colleagues on my left. State-owned companies have a dual role that ensures that they contribute positively to commercial objectives and the developmental mandate of our country. The NDP states that rural communities need greater economic, social, and political opportunities to overcome poverty. It also outlines that South Africa needs to invest in a strong network of economic infrastructure designed to support the country's medium, long-term economic and social objectives. The work done by Transnet through the implementation of its market demand strategy has yielded significant economic benefits for our country. Transnet has a capital investment of 29.6 billion, bringing spend during the market demand strategy period to 124 billion, including intangibles, with expected spend of between 340 billion to 380 billion over the next 10 years. It has over 60,000 employees. This remarkable performance is the product of the democratic dispensation and is highly commendable. What is worth celebrating, Chairperson, is the recent launch of the Trans-Africa locomotive unveiled by President Jacob Zuma on the 4th of April 2017 in Pretoria. In support of the developmental mandate and ensuring that investment in skills are made, Transnet partnered with Wits University to establish the Innovation and Research Center for Black entrepreneurs and Black-owned SMEs. In terms of skill development, Transnet has been a leader in skilling our people within the rolling stock sector. The Women in Engineering program and the Artisanship program undertaken at Trans-Engineering, Transfreight Rail, Transnet Pipelines, and Transnet National Ports Authority are just a few examples. Although the 1064 locomotive project has been extended by 3 years, concerns have been raised by employees of assembly lines being dominated by Chinese employees from the original equipment manufacturers. We believe that unity on the shop floor should prevail in order to ensure skills transfer and lasting capacity building takes place in the area of rolling stock manufacturing. As a committee, we undertook an investigation into investments in localization strategies. In this regard, Chairperson, we made observations that Transnet supports beneficiation through the localization process, whereby local steel production, further processing, including manufacturing and machining products are supported. Total spend to date on localization efforts is estimated at 1.4 billion, with about 5,712 jobs created through the BUILD program for the current financial year alone. Honorable Chairperson, unlike Transnet, South African Express has experienced some challenges like financial instability and operational inefficiency, which confronts the regional carrier and led to some aircraft being grounded as a result of non-compliant aviation standards. These challenges must be addressed, Minister, decisively if the airline is to achieve its core mandate of making a meaningful contribution towards economic growth and the realization of government strategic objectives. The ANC welcomes the finalization of the whole of state aviation policy framework to bring alignment and synergy among state-owned airlines. That is the South African Express, South African Airways, and Mango. This rationalization and achievement of the 2020 vision is required in order to improve performance and address issues of loss-making routes and reliance on government for financial support. The committee will closely monitor this process. Honorable Chairperson, the Lexo-linked Richterveld land restitution claim is one that needs to be treated with utmost care and sensitivity as it impacts on the lives and socio-economic conditions of the people of Richtersveld. The department must ensure that the 45 million owed to the Community Property Association is paid through the correct structures to benefit the affected communities by investing in their educational programs, entrepreneurship, and social development. The conflict and misunderstandings that has characterized this matter has continued for far too long. In commemoration of his Talandwe comrade Oliver Reginald Tambo, we encourage all the affected parties to expose the spirit of unity and work together to decisively resolve the issues and restore social cohesion in the area. Minister Brown and Deputy Minister Martins, you will always have our support as the Portfolio Committee, and we call on you to ensure that all the recommendations of the Presidential Review Committee on SOCs relevant to the department, in particular, the remuneration standards of state-owned companies, are implemented. The need to conduct strict oversight over all the companies cannot be overemphasized if we're to ensure they effectively execute their mandates. Once more, the ANC, we have got all the reasons to support vote 9 of the Department of Public Enterprises. Ndolibu.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Honorable Marre. Order, members.
Chairperson, I want to start on a positive note and a word of congratulations to the Democratic Alliance with their excellent win yesterday in the Beaufort West by-elections. Well done. Foregrounded by the National Development Plan, the objective of the NDP is to eliminate poverty and reduce inequality by 2030, which is a mere 13 years away. There has never been a need for more haste to rescue South Africa, because under the ANC leadership for the past 23 years, South Africans has been left with empty promises, lip service, and hopelessness. If we simply allow them to continue hijacking South Africa at every opportunity available to them, that will be the state of nation be in 13 years' time. It is a chilling realization, and I can't confidently say the people of South Africa had enough and are not as ill-informed as the ruling party believes. More and more of our people are realizing that South Africa is the only party to reignite hope and inspiration and has the will to build a better future for all in South Africa. The Western Cape, Tshwane, Nelson Mandela Bay, and Johannesburg have already become testament to this. The aim of the department is to drive investment, productivity, and transformation in the department's portfolio of state-owned enterprises to unlock growth, propel industrialization, and most importantly, to create jobs and develop skills. House Chairperson, how prosperous would South Africa be if the ANC government place as much effort into proactively achieving this essential aim as they do in protecting the personal pockets of a selected few. There exists an urgency with this department needs to function optimally and is simply reduced to ink in government's publications to create a facade of improvement while taxpayers' money is misappropriated, misused, and frankly, violated to the detriment of South African people. House Chairperson, can the ANC in this House truthfully and in good conscience tell the people of South Africa that the 266.7 million allocated to this department for the 2017-18 financial year will be constructively used to give effect to the NDP so to achieve the essential aim of creating jobs and providing skills development? House Chairperson, I pose this question because this is the nature of interrogation from our constituents and because the DA believes in shared prosperity for all South Africans, we have a constitutionally mandated duty to answer them in a considerable amount of South Africa see the DA as the only alternative to the ANC. House Chairperson, it is stated that clear, transparent governance combined with stable leadership will enable state-owned enterprises to achieve their developmental potential. However, this has not been the case. It came to light in April 2016 that the suspended CEO of Denel has been officially fired without being found guilty of any misconduct. The time of this discharge is suspicious and lends to credence to the notion that this dismissal was linked to his refusal to broker arm deals with the political connected Gupta family. The CEO, Mr. Saluji, the CFO, and the group company secretary were suspended in September 2015, while the board examined a number of allegations related to irregular acquisitions. However, it is widely speculated that the suspension of these three officials was related to the creation of the new company, Denel Asia, and the proposed joint venture with VR Leisure Asia, a Gupta-linked firm. Denel has been in the hot water for this dodgy joint venture, which has direct links to Dzani Zuma and the Guptas. Treasury has finally put this deal to bed after many months of back and forth between Treasury and Denel. However, Denel was appealing this decision. House Chairperson, if I may, I also urge Minister Lynn Brown to be mindful of her oath, the plight of the most vulnerable South Africans, the urgency with which we have to collectively rescue South Africa. This is because our country is dying at the hands of a selected few, protecting one. Our youth are hampered by hopelessness. The world has lost confidence in the once great rainbow South Africa, and we find ourselves in a national despondency. While still in a position to bring about real positive change, I ask you to prioritize the over 55 million South Africans suffering due to patronage politics. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Nobandla.
Thank you. Ayan Boyiki, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister and Deputy Minister, Honorable members, CEOs and management of our state-owned entities, our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Botani Mawet. Rele seboka sa mokgatlo ye eteletseng pele puso, re atlenegisa le go ema nokeng tekanyetsokabo ya borobongwe ya lefapha la dikgwebo tsa setšhaba. Chairperson, 2017 has been declared the year of Oliver Reginald Tambo, and I would like to quote him when he said, I quote, "Comrades, you might think it is very difficult to wage a liberation struggle. Wait until you are in power. I might be dead by then at that stage. You will realize that it is difficult to keep the power than to wage a liberation war. People will be expecting a lot of services from you. You will have to satisfy the various demands of the masses of our people. Re bua le ka bone bo magana go buiswa ba. Be prepared to learn from other people's revolution, close quote. This is appropriate in a sense that the masses expect good governance, le bone ba, from us. We must not repeat the mistakes of the government of the apartheid era. For example, ABSA being loaned 2.6 billion of the estates fund and not repaying it. Or Eugene de Kock's fraud cases and many others. Chair, the mandate of Eskom is to provide electricity in an efficient and sustainable manner, including its generation, transmission, and distribution and sales. Is Eskom fulfilling this mandate? Modula Stulo Karabo ke A. Eskom's financial and operational performance also needs to be commended. So far, the SOE remains profitable and sustainable. Re le mokgatlho re solofela ebile re na le tshepo gore tona le lefapha ba tla dira sentle go siamisa ditshiamololo tse di leng teng mo komponeng e. Modulasetulo ke rata re ipotsa gore ke ka gore maloko a ka fa molemeng ba tlhola ba re digile moayana ka dikompone tse tsa puso. Goreng ba sa bui kgotsa gona go opela ka dikgwebo tse dingwe tse di gwebang le puso kgotsa gona mo Eskom. Chairperson, at the end of the day, maikaelelo magolo a modumo o tlho leng teng o tsusitsweng ke gore Eskom le tse dingwe tsa dikompone ba batla di rekisediwe bangwe ba dikgorane tsa bone. Ka go rialo ra re le ga le ka ibuela lengopeng magakabe a go bona. The department's budget decreases by 6.4%, which is 268 M in 2016-2017 to 246.7 million in 2017-18, and therefore hope that the department will be able to make do with what they have, and we are behind you. Chair, let me say that as the organization, we will not be distracted, detracted, deterred, all the D's that you can find from our mandate of creating a better South Africa by people who think they know what is best for us, but were unable to recognize that more than 30 years ago. We will not be swayed into believing their false pretenses of a sudden consciousness. Let them practice that consciousness within their structures first, by bringing to book those who are still harboring the spirit of racism within them. We will not be dictated upon we will not be dictated upon by wolves in a sheepskin to sell out our hard-earned freedom, our country, Izwelethu. Sihlalo, I for one I'm a product of those men and women who gave up their lives, their youth, their families and loved ones, so that I today am able to stand before you in this august house. Bo Mama Ruta, Ntate Oliver, Bo Malume Kotane, Bo Mama Charlotte Mateke, and many others.
Honorable members, let's not drown. Now who was in Germany when one was in Italy or somewhere? Honorable members, Honorable Mazone and Honorable Khadebe, can we continue our discussion outside? Continue, Honorable Member.
Bo Mama Charlotte Mateke and many others. Sihlalo, we will not be moved. Dia mahlatsi, dia ka bohlale. Nna ha ke pitsi mpe, seraha mo nga yona. Ha ke motjodi o tono se sephatso. Modulasetulo lefapha le filwe maikarabelo go diragatsa mandate wa mokgatlho concerning SOEs. Ke rata gore a re ba rotloetseng go dira tiro ya bone, re ba thekge, re ba thuse gore ko phelletsong rotlhe re le maAfrika Borwa re tle re ungwele go tswa mo dikomponente. Ka gore dialo ke batla ke botsa gore madinyana a marabe a bakanga ke bo medubaduba fela, bo masenya di agela le ba bone. Poloko ya Afrika Borwa e go African National Congress. Modulasetulo ke batla go bua le Honorable Khaula. Honorable Khaula, in his absence, I would like to say to him, he must attend portfolio committee meetings. He cannot just listen to the radio and TV and come and speak on our issues. Honorable Singh, you are part of our committee. You are part of the people who are supposed to do oversight on these SOEs. So I'm surprised, what are you saying if you say oversight is not done? Are you not part of us? Honorable Shelembe, privatization. Honorable Shelembe, highly privatization yone, ukai bona ukanon. Honorable Mazoni, we know you have a very intimate relationship with Eskom. We are not surprised. So we will not get into that one. That one is for you and Eskom and your relationship. Modula setulo ka mafoko ao ke rata gore re le mokgatlo re ema nokeng tona ya lefapha la dikompone tsa puso.
Honorable member was advised that translation is not available today. So I just thought I needed to advise members. Order, order, honorable member, honorable members. Can we, nobody said it's not an official language. However, I was just advising members that there is no translation.
Chair.
What is the point of order?
Point of order, Chair. No, Chair, the point of order is that these honorables are slumbering here. They are not even using this
Honorable member.
mark. So how do
Honorable
they say it is
Khadem,
not translated?
that's not a
They are
point
not
of
even
order.
using it.
Order. Honorable Chief Whips of parties, can you please bring order to your members? Can you please round up, member?
Okay, on that note, Honorable Chair, we as the African National Congress support the minister, support this department to ensure that the mandate of the African National Congress is reached. Hae lale dikgomo.
Honorable Minister.
Honorable Chair, thank you, honorable members for participation. I particularly want to today, under your leadership, honorable member Ranto, thank the ANC. In fact, I was going to complete my speech, but the ANC has covered everything in terms of my speech. They prepared for this debate, and thank you very much. I don't want to be unfair and only respond to the ANC, because that's where the content lie today in this debate. And I can say to you, and I mean, look, this study group and portfolio committee gives me a hard time, so I owe them nothing, they owe me nothing. But they understand the role that state-owned companies play in this country. And today, when Honorable Member Murray says that the youth are hopeless, let me ask the youth who are beneficiaries of the state-owned companies to rise. Honorable members, and I'm saying to you that this is just a sample of the training that happens for young people in this country. If it wasn't for our state-owned companies, we would not have the cadets and the engineers and the trainee engineers and the specialists that we have here today. They would not come from Mpumalanga, from Limpopo, from the Northwest, the Northern Cape, they will be stuck in the Gauteng and the Cape. They come from all across the country. They are more than 10,000 over the last couple of years. And they've been trained by. That must give you hope. If I listen to what the opposition is saying here, I would have liked to say, dear members, I'll take into cognizance what you've said, but they've said nothing about the Satan companies. They actually are trying to derail a more than 1 trillion rand asset base that belongs to the state, that the state can use to develop its people. And the continued call that in Eskom, the whole of Eskom belongs to the Guptas. Let me make it very clear and let me repeat it. We and the Deputy Minister has said that the investigation we are going to have will include the Guptas and every other coal mine in the country. You must know, as I stand here today, that 90% of all the resources in this country is given to us by white companies, not black companies. You know, the issue is that the majority of people in this country are black, that the economy is in the hands of a small group of people, and this is what they are scared of, that we might today radically transform this economy. So they say in one family's hands. I will not allow it in one family's land, and the ANC will not allow it. Let me tell you a story about VR Laser. You come here today to say that these people were fired because of VR Laser. Do you know that VR Laser has been in the Denel camp for more than 15 years?
Honorable
15
Minister.
years, VR Laser.
Honorable
Do
Minister.
not you be economical with the truth here.
Honorable Minister, can you pause? What's the point of order?
I was asking the Honorable Minister not to shout at us, if he can lower down the voice.
Honorable member, that's not a point of order. Proceed, Minister.
Let's see if you ask me a question when I walk out of the house.
Order, members. Can we allow the
I want
minister to
use
conclude?
This opportunity. I want to use the opportunity to thank the Honorable Deputy Minister, Minister Ben Martins. He is no stranger to this portfolio, and your support over the last 6 weeks has just been incredible. So thank you very much. I want to thank the DG and his executives. You know, the
Minister,
DG
if
has
you can
to
round
steer
up.
a very complex department. It's not an easy department to run. We don't make tires. We actually have
If
to
you can
manage
round up,
people
Minister.
who are managing themselves. I want to thank the Portfolio Committee. I very especially want to thank a mentor who is sitting in this room here today, Dr. Mayor Lucia. I am most grateful that Mayor has come to listen to me here today. And Mayor's been a mentor to me, well, and the chair here, since we were about 18 years old. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Family, friends,
Minister, your
guests
time
to
is
the
up.
house.
Thank you very much, Minister. Honorable members, this was indeed a very interesting and a robust debate, even though at times you became more than robust, but thank you very much. I want to thank members in the gallery who were very, very disciplined. Thank you very much, members of the gallery. This concludes the mini plenary on the debate of public enterprises. Members, You are reminded that the debate on economic development budget vote will take place at 16:15 in the National Assembly. The debate on social development will take place here at 16:15, and the debate on environmental affairs at E249. The mini plenary will now conclude.